News out of Georgia, the appellate division there, the appellate court suspended the Georgia case against Trump until obviously it considers the disqualification appeal on October 4th, meaning basically this thing is off the calendar till after the election. I don't know why when I heard this, I just was imagining phone calls ringing up in New York, kind of like Newt Gingrich told us he heard down in Georgia when they said, hey, we need an indictment out of you guys tomorrow. And Fannie Willis said, well, we're not even going to be back till tomorrow. And they said, well, no, you don't understand. We need it tomorrow. I got a feeling that New York was getting phone calls saying, hey, you guys this is it now. You got the conviction. This sentencing this is it. We got to get rid of this guy for the rest of this election season. This is it. Why am I so cynical to think that was happening today?
No, you're obviously not cynical. Look, I mean, it was fairly obvious, I would say as far back as 2 months ago or so. It was fairly obvious that the New York case was the only case where they had a real shot at getting to a jury prior to November. So this case in Washington, D.C., we're awaiting the U.S. Supreme Court to rule later this month when it comes to Trump versus the United States. That's the ruling on the scope, the breadth, the depth of presidential immunity. That's not going to be the end of that. They're going to have to kick that back down to the trial court. Long story short, Jack Smith will be very, very lucky if he can somehow get a trial start date before November in Washington, D.C. I think it's unlikely. In Florida, in that case, there's just a lot of pretrial motions that are taking a lot of time to sift through their classified documents. How do you balance due process rights, national security? So Judge Aileen Cannon is being very prudent in slow walking this case. So that case is also unlikely to make it to trial. And then in Georgia, as soon as you had the whole Nathan Wade, Fannie Willis romance that came to surface, that started to get derailed as well. And then definitely when the Georgia Court of Appeals granted their certificate of review to first hear Trump's appeal as to whether or not Fannie can stand the case, it was basically game over there as well. So this news today is something of a formality. It is not necessarily kind of shocking to those of us who pay close attention to these trials. That case in Georgia was already going to be sidelined for a very long time. Then we recently heard a few days ago that it's going to be October 4th. Now they're saying the trial court can't do anything. So that's great. But what that means is that the Democrat lawfare complex, as I call it, is putting literally all of their eggs in the basket of New York State. That should have been obvious to a lot of us a while ago. It is definitely obvious to all of us now because they have stopped at literally nothing, crawled over every shard of glass imaginable in the world to get their man. And Alvin Bragg, in true Stalinist, show me the man, I will show you the crime fashion, they have got their man, albeit it is the 45th president of the United States.